Another Monday Night Football showdown slate. In fact, our last one of the year. So we got to make this one count with Rams-Falcons tonight on tap. Of course, the work begins as it always does here on the Splash Play channel. We're going to dig in and look at data from Stochastic, see who the top plays are, top value plays are. We'll also check ownership along the way, see who the chalk's going to be on tonight's single game slate. Of course, we'll hop over to ETR, see what their data thinks of your cash game lineup. We'll run some sims on ETR and Stochastic. I'll do a hand build. And by the end of this video, guys, you'll know all of the industry's must plays along with 3 ways to get unique on tonight's slate. Let's get into it here. Hope it was a good week 17 for you guys. Shout out to we got Jay Runyon here joining. Is that a football player name? I think it is, but I'll pretend. We got football players joining the channel here. Always glad to see new members. But we are live here. It was, I got to be real, a really disappointing week 17 for me. Started yesterday with the seventh highest EV expected in the Puppy 2, the very prestigious Puppy 2. And that was according to bbmdb.com. Great site if you are tracking any of the tournaments that are still going on out there. If you have a sweat going, shout out to you if you do. I saw Puka Nacua go tonight, but like, I am at an 80th place, went from being a potential top 5 finish there to just making a little bit of money on it. It's really disappointing. And, you know, for best ball, I think that's how a lot of it goes for a lot of people. But shout out to Sam Sherman, who I've always said on here, great content creator, a guy that I haven't always seen things eye to eye in terms of how he approaches best ball, but I've always thought he makes good points that make me rethink a lot of stuff I'm doing. Seems like he's in the catbird seat to win the actual BBM this year. So I believe I saw the Chip Chasing's doing a stream with him, a sweat stream. Hopefully they don't kill anybody. or almost kill anybody this time around. But I think that's really exciting for Sam, and he definitely deserves it. So, but watch that later today. For right now, though, we got this Rams-Falcons slate. And shout out to the kind chatsy from Jay Runyon. First time I made it live, signed up today. Appreciate all you do and helped me a lot this year. Glad to hear that. I appreciate the kind words. We are in members-only chat mode here. Real fast note on that, because I saw our guy Sean, in particular in the Stochastic chat yesterday, was like real tilted about it. For what it's worth, members-only chat, I think we'll have some days where it's not always members only, but I know a few of you guys noticed a few more downvotes lately, to be honest, from what I could tell on the back end. It seems like the same 4 or 5 accounts downvoting here and the NBA channel since I made that move. It's mostly about protecting my own sanity and joy doing this, because I do step up to the plate here over and over again doing this content and making sure it's good for the guys who, again, watch after the live videos. So no disrespect to the guys who are good contributors, who are free members here, free subscribers on the channel, but really just trying to keep the videos good for the people watching after the fact and make sure that we don't have the troll distraction and stuff, because I do get distracted by it. I know sometimes it's entertaining, but for me, the content's good enough. I'd like to let the content speak for itself. So especially when I don't have best ball winnings to lean back on here, I only have top 50 Puppy 2 finishes, which do not look good on your resume, no matter what you put in there. I got to focus on the content itself. So that's the way it is. I'm going to make the same statement sort of on NBA, but you know, it's one thing where I want to be mindful of people who are upset about things, but also I have to do what's best for me and my content, what I'm trying to do here, and keep growing things. And that's what we're trying to focus on here. But appreciate guys like Jay running a bunch in the chat, because hearing the good things definitely helps that process along as we strap in and keep doing the work throughout the playoffs, of course, here for NFL and the rest of the NBA season as well. But we got Puka Nacua, our top projected player here according to Stochastic data, 25.3 projection for him. Knowing how it went yesterday for every receiver of mine that was well projected, he'll probably put up 10 today. Only Wan'Dale Robinson got about 15 for me amidst James Cook, amidst Tyrone Tracy, amidst Ricky Pearsall. I'm going to keep tilted about it a little bit longer. Amidst T. Higgins. I had a lot of guys amidst Rashad Bateman, who sucks, but like whatever, he was still active. It was just brutal. Chikakonkwo came through for me. But anyway, Puka Nacua, he's on my best ball team, so you might want to fade him today in Showdown. But Puka Nacua is your top projected player for a reason here. No Devontae Adams. Again, we saw that workload last week with no Adams soar exponentially. Red zone work should also get higher for Puka Nacua, because not having Adams in as a borderline red zone target hog with his role in that offense. Last week, Puka Nacua as well played 70-plus snaps. Let me confirm the actual numbers here. Yeah, Puka Nacua at 72. Parkinson was pretty close to that. He was actually ahead of him at 79. Kyron Williams, also 65. And then for comparison, Blake Corum, because I know it's going to come up later on in the video, Blake Corum down to 27 snaps in that game. And really the only receiver of note, I mean, tight ends were also out there a bunch, all 3 tight ends playing a good amount, including Ferguson. But for Kanata Mumpfield here, a 42 snap count for him. He was your number 2 receiver. You had guys like Xavier Smith rotating in. Point being is like there isn't really another receiver who's filling in that Adams role. Mumpfield's the closest. He's not taking the big red zone work away. He's not getting that major opportunity for himself. So Puka Nacua, the role is about as safe as could be when he's facing an Atlanta team who is, I would say, better defensively than I think people realize. 0.03 EPA per drop back, pretty much a dead league average. 0.03 EPA per pass allowed by the Falcons, pretty much a dead league average. But it's Puka Nacua facing a man defense heavy team. They play man 33% of the time, which is towards the higher part of league average. Obviously, Puka Nacua you could play in any spot. Versus man, though, he's putting up 4.2 yards per out run, 0.75 EPA on those targets, 39% target per out run rate, which is slightly higher than his rate versus zone. We know what Puka is. I don't know why I'm making the case for Puka Nacua here. He's on the thumbnail, so I guess we have to. But he's the strongest play on the slate. It's been a case, though, on showdowns before where he literally has been the best play on the slate because he was so expensive as he is today at 12-2 salary. He still didn't make a winning lineup, so that's really your big concern is that even if Puka scores 20, 22, 24, he might still not make a winning lineup if the game script hits in a certain way that you have enough guys spiking upside around him. But he's the best play in the slate. He's got 42% ownership in the flex, 30% in captain according to Stochastic. He'll be your chalk play of the slate. And shout out for Sean. I appreciate that. Appreciate the super chat and the kind words here. And yeah, honestly, if you are somebody here who is a normal free chatter, if you just want to put in a penny super chat, just so it gets you through the system, I'll still put your chats up. But I appreciate the understanding. And again, it's just mostly me trying to protect my process here so I can strap in and keep doing the work because it gets to be a grind, especially this time of year. And frankly, to be real with you guys, every year where best ball just doesn't work out that way, whether it was the year I made the BBM finals and got that stripped away the last game that didn't finish, or, other times since then where, we've had good runs. I'm always a little depressed, week 17, where it doesn't hit that outcome that you're dreaming of, you're working up in your head. And especially yesterday, where it's I had super unique players and high total games. I did the thing I was supposed to do and fucking didn't work. It's it's hard. It's hard. It's a little bit depressing for me, but ultimately here, that's part of doing the work here is showing up, keep showing face over and over again. So that's the deal. Shout out Justin. I appreciate the $1 super chat. You can also put words with it too. Is it Atlanta time you try to run on versus pass? They are a little bit worse versus the run in the pass. Yeah, 0.04 EPA per rush allowed, 0.05 EPA per red zone pass allowed. They are a little bit better in the red zone run defense, the negative 0.25 EPA there. But yeah, they are softer across the board against the run, so that's a fair point as well. But for Puka Nacua though, that's not a reason to fade Puka Nacua, obviously, especially without Adams in. But I would say for Puka Nacua, if you want to give one case, maybe you're playing a little more Kyron. Again, Kyron played 60 plus snaps last week, and more than 2x what Corum played. There's a little bit of a gap developing again there. Bijan Robinson at number 2, 47% ownership expected here. I'm doing ownership and projection at the same time, but a 23 projection at Bijan here. Obviously, Bijan, another guy who looks good in the spot. Rams defense, really not weak anywhere. Negative 0.03 EPA per run allowed. That's closer to league average than their negative 0.05 EPA per pass allowed. But in the red zone, negative 0.2 EPA allowed by the Rams defense, negative 0.18 EPA per red zone pass. League average in terms of target rate allowed to running backs with a 16% rate there, 0.01 EPA. But I would say for, how the Rams defense looks overall, I would worry about the Rams shutting down parts of the Atlanta offense more than I would Atlanta's defense shutting down parts of the Rams offense, if that makes sense. And Bijan would be the one you point to here. If you want to get to Puka, sacrificing at the altar of Bijan might not be a crazy thing to do. That said, projection-wise, these three, I have to imagine the data might just try to cram in here because their projections, all these guys over 20, Puka over 25. Then you go down to Drake London at 15, Kyron at a rounded up 15, Cousins at 14, Pitts at 13 and change. I think you're going to be cramming in Puka, Bijan, and Stafford based on these projections. Puka's more of a faded captain. I think that's fair too. And again, it really does stand out to me. I forgot what slate it was, but it was I want to say 6 weeks ago where I was like, Puka, I don't see how he doesn't make it in the spot. Might have been versus the Cardinals or something. It's I don't see how he doesn't make it in the spot. And we do see him ultimately, still have a good game and not make a winning lineup because that's just the way the salaries worked. That remains to me the biggest concern for Puka. Shout out for OMG Fantasy, our guy Nolan. Only team with Corum the Chow Chow when he drops 98. For all of you, yeah. That's how I feel about Puka putting up 75 today. I think I would still lose in the puppy, which sucks. But I very much appreciate the generous super chat, Nolan, one of the OGs here as well, and also great DFS player in his own right too. So shout out to him. Hope you have some good finishes, whatever you got left, Nolan, because it's dire straits for some of us. Matthew Stafford, 10-8 salary for him, 20 fantasy point projection. what else can we say about him here that you don't already know? It's a good matchup, again, going against at least a league average defense for a guy like Stafford, who's been so efficient across the board. 0.2 EPA per drop back, 0.23 EPA per pass. Obviously, his runs can be a little bit less efficient. Under pressure is the one spot he struggled a little bit with a negative 0.25 EPA per pressure play, but even then, we're still talking about the upper echelon of QBs. Though Cousins actually been pretty good as well under pressure with a negative 0.22 EPA for his pressure play. Generally, if you're around negative 0.3 or so, you're doing really well for yourself as a QB, but Stafford takes sacks a lot, 7% sack rate. Is a Atlanta defense that blitzes 35% of the time, hurries the QB 9.4% of the time, which is towards the higher part of the league. But that's really just kind of nickel and diming Stafford here. He looks good. I think the biggest concern for Stafford is everybody's going to play him, but he kind of feels to me like Brock Purdy did in last night's slate. Not that we talked about it on content really. But, for Brock Purdy, it's like I think he makes a winning lineup just because either the receivers will get there with it, or I guess he'll run for 1,000,000 touchdowns as he did yesterday. For Stafford, though, it's mostly like if you're playing Puka Nacua, you're kind of already making that bet on Stafford, especially, with that consolidated target tree that's going to be there for Puka. But also, even if you're fading Puka, you're probably making a bet on Kyron. You're making a bet on one of the tight ends. They all flow with Stafford, too. So sort of hard to imagine him not making lineups, especially when he's at only $1,800 more than Kirk Cousins, but projects 6 points higher. It seems like these three, again, going to get crammed in every lineup. Drake London at number 4. So he's the one I feel the most strongly about. I want to make sure to get exposure to. 15.5 projection doesn't look great, but is a zone-heavy Rams defense here. 64% zone rate is what they're playing. And really versus zone on the Falcons, Drake London's the only one having success. 32.4% target per out run versus zone, 3.1 yards per out run. Darnell Mooney sucks everywhere, but he is bad versus zone with only 1.1 yards per out run there. Kyle Pitts at 1.7 yards per out run versus zone is much worse than a 2.3 he has versus man. His rates also drop a lot versus zone, only 19.5% target rate compared to 27% versus man. So I think it sets up well as a Drake London spot. He played 50 plus snaps last week. So for me with Drake London, I think he's a better play than he will get owned at, with 31% expected in the flex, 8% at captain. I want to take that shot at captain. I think that gets you unique playing him with Puka. But really, if I had to make one decision on the slate, and again, knowing that it's probably pretty chalky on half of it, it'd be to play Puka and Drake London in every lineup and just see where the chips fall around that. It's hard to say that when you have Bijan on the slate, obviously, but I think with Drake London, I think he can hit with Bijan and be a way to get that ownership product down a little bit. I think he'd hit in lieu of Bijan, where he maybe takes some of the red zone work away, or he and Algier combine to take that red zone work away. I like the price tag a lot for him, and the fact that he played 50 snaps last week in his first game back in, I think is a good sign, because I think people might not realize he's back to full go Drake London. In this spot, I think that bodes well. And the game script too, I think Atlanta's gonna have to really be aggressive here. London's way to go, says Robert Griffin III. I'm hoping so. The big concern really would be that Cousins just can't get him the ball outside the hash marks as much as he needs. But, London, they can move around in formations. He's getting the ball in the slot a good amount as well. So I think he'll be, again, I want to get into most of my lineups. That's as much as I could say for him. Ownership does not seem to be the case, though. Kyron Williams. The fact that he did put over double the snaps of Blake Corum last week, I think looks pretty interesting. 9,600 also looks good. Does feel like it's going to be hard to play multiples of the top guys with London, with Kyron Williams. But I think if you are paying down, these two are, to me, clearly a cut above. And I'd feel better about chasing them than I would, going to Kyle Pitts at 8,800. And I think that role is just really depreciated from having, Drake London back in. And again, the zone-heavy matchup, too, does not help out Kyle Pitts as much as it may other tight ends who could kind of sit in position and get there. Pitts needs to be moving. And when he's moving and there's another guy there, it doesn't open up the same value in those crossing routes, stuff he had a lot of success with when Drake London was out in particular. So to me, London, Kyron both look good. And for what it's worth as well, Rams facing an Atlanta team that gives up a pretty high 18.3% target rates RBs. So about 2.5% more than what the Rams give up on their side of things. So for Kyron, I think that involved in the pass game that is always there to some extent, but can't really get there in certain environments. I think it should be a little bit higher today, but obviously we'll see what happens. That's your top 5. Puka, Bijan, Stafford, and then a real tier break to London and Kyron around 15 fantasy points. Again, Cousins not that far behind. Pitt's not that far behind. Top values, according to stochastic data, we got the receiver Chris Blair for the Falcons, a 3x value here. I don't even recall him coming up when I was going through snaps before the game. But he did play 9 last week, so that's something at $200. He can catch a touchdown, theoretically, I suppose. 3% ownership, 2.4% optimal rate. Likely because he's the only $200 guy in play, and somehow you might need to fit that $200 guy in. He catches one pass, one touchdown. And the rarest of slates historically, you'd even have a $200 guy that does nothing, and because you played him and nobody else did, and you put the right guys around that, the guy could theoretically score 0 and still make a winning lineup. It hasn't happened often. I could recall one time, though. It happened in a large field tournament. That's what Chris Blair is. Nothing special, but he has a projection on him, and he played 9 snaps last week. Again, Mumfield played over 40. I don't think the underlying stats are super impressive for him overall. He's only getting targeted 14% of the time that he's running a route. That's lower than Parkinson at 22%. That's lower than Ferguson at tight end at 15%. It is higher than Tutu Atwell, though, at 9%. So he's out there more than Tutu, about 5x more as of last week. And he's also getting targeted, almost double the amount. So Mumfield, I think a good play here. Did visually, I thought, play well the last time we saw, no Devontae Adams, and last time felt like he was in the right spot a lot. Got a good amount of targets. 6.5 projection on him. 32% flex ownership. Pretty steep numbers, but at 2,200, to me, he's a lot more credible value than Chris Blair is. But will he be really owned like Jake Tongas was yesterday? I think possibly. Will he also pay off enough like Tongas to make a winning lineup almost immediately? I think possibly. So I don't mind Mumfield here at 2,200. I'll be with whatever the field has, and honestly, maybe above it. Davis Allen, much less owned. 20% ownership for him. He does have a 23% optimal rate at a 5.7 projection. Your number 3 best value here. Last week, Davis Allen did not play as much as Parkinson did, but he did put up 60 snaps. And then Ferguson put up 70 flat. So a lot of 3 tight end lineups out there, a lot of 2 tight end lineups for the Rams last week, as we know. We talked about a few times on stream the last few weeks. For Davis Allen, it looks like he'll be the least owned here. He's got Parkinson at 37% ownership. You got, Ferguson at 17. So these 3 guys, I would say with that Parkinson ownership, and he's going to be your best projected guy. He's the one that's out there the most. He's the one getting the best target rate. But we've seen this before in a showdown slate where Parkinson was mega chop coming in after he had that 20-point game. And then we saw, I think, Ferguson made a winning lineup. I don't think Allen did. But same thing here. Ferguson and Allen both under 20%. Parkinson in 37. Flatten it out. 25 of each. You're probably in a good spot. They're really competing for the same kind of ancillary targets that aren't going Puka's way, aren't going the RB touch direction as well. So I think Parkinson an okay play here, but this is a lot more ownership for him than Davis Allen, and they're on the field too much of a comparable amount. But Parkinson looks fine. 9.8 projection, $4,400 salary. He might be a guy that makes our cash game lineup. We'll see in a minute. Puka Nacua, despite being so expensive, he is also a top 5 value. Just had a Blake Corum and Xavier Smith, who last week played 22 snaps. Let's go sort by ownership real fast. No flippenings in the Rams tight end room. No, but I do think it's just a matter of you have 3 guys that are going to be out there for 60 to 75, snaps, let's say. Obviously that's, a higher pace environment, but that sort of share no matter what the game is. So really they're all competing for the same opportunity functionally. I really feel pretty soundly that just playing those guys closer to one another and not letting Parkinson dictate the entire exposure at tight end is going to be the better move. Shout out Consigliere for the super chat. Need an Algier nuke and some fades to take a minicamp best ball. Okay, there we go. Currently in 3rd out of 99. All right, that's a reasonable field, and you're right up top there. I'm rooting for you. Algier stealing some touchdowns away tonight. Always a possibility. I mean, anytime the Falcons play, it's a possibility. The work for him in the red zone, as we've talked about a lot of times in content, and I'm sure will come up later today, or do a live before lock show with Laffy. Red zone touch counts. I mean, it's still 2.9 a game for Bijan to 2.1 a game for Algier in the red zone overall, but it is 1.3 a game for Algier in the 10-yard line and closer compared to 1.2 for Bijan. So punching into touchdown to get inside that, that 10-yard line area. He is unfortunately the Sean Tucker of the situation. That fucker Sean Tucker. Your top owned plays, Stafford in the flex, 47.4%, Bijan 47, Puka at 42, of course, also 30% at captain for Puka, so he will be at about 70-75% of lineups based on stochastic data. Colby Parkinson, 33% optimal rate for him, 37% owned, so a little bit over-owned here. Still going to be one of your chalkiest plays, including about 7% at captain expected for Colby Parkinson at a very cheap price tag that'll allow you to cram in all the studs. Got to keep in mind people are going to play that right off the top. Kanata Mumfield, 32% owned, so he is not a sneaky play here. 3% at captain for Mumfield. Hard to expect him to have captain upside, but sure. And then Drake London right outside the top 5. Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker, or the big fat kicker, as some may call him. 27% owned in the flex as well. Your highest owned captains, Puka at that 30%, not a surprise here. A good amount going to captain ownership for him. Almost 2x as much as Bijan, 16.5%. Seems a little low for Bijan. Again, one of the things I say probably a lot in these videos, but it is just generally a rule of thumb. We see the ownership being this far off. I think it wouldn't be crazy just to knock Puka down a little bit, knock him to 20, get a little more Bijan, a little more Stafford, a little more Drake London for sure. But definitely the optimal rate does favor Puka. The Bijan looks a little bit under-owned at captain with only 21.4% optimal rate and only 16.5% ownership at captain. Stafford, your last double-digit plus owned captain, and Drake London at 8, Parkinson at 7, Kyron at 5, Pitts at 4. Down the chain here. It is a high total game. I feel like Mevis at captain would be another way to get cheap without going Parkinson, but build kind of a similar lineup. Wouldn't hate the concept of him at captain today. Mooney, I can't trust him at this point, but I'm sure the field feels that way as well. Cousins at 1.3%. He's going to be dropping back a lot for sure. A little expensive, though, compared to what he's been on other showdowns that I've really advocated for him. That's the ownership. Let's go to ETR next. We'll see what they have for us. And let's run a cash game build here. Of course, we got to lightly touch the projections, add a decimal point on it to run it. But guys, show some love if you can. Hit that like button and subscribe. Again, doing the work as best I can. This is going to be our last Monday Night Football slate. Then I don't think we have Thursday Night Football this week either. So that's also done. But I will be here throughout the playoffs, of course, main slate next week as well. So join down below if you really want to support the show. But if you want to just be here, watch the video, subscribe, hit the like button. And the like button in particular goes a long way. That's how YouTube learns that, hey, we should probably see this guy's videos a little bit more, show it to people that are similar to these users. It's a big part of how I get views here and keep things moving in the right direction. So please hit the like button if you can. Of course, check out Stochastic. You saw some of their data. You'll see their Sims and Moment, all their stuff, 15% off link down below. Their other promos just ended. So make sure to use that 15% off for the best deal they have going. Weekly, monthly, cheap packages, expensive packages, all 15% off with the promo code SPLASH down below. And last but not least, if you want to participate in the live chats here, as well as get access to the Discord and my data sheet every week, premium video every week as well, which should be back this week. We'll see. But either way, though, most of the weeks of the season, you get a premium video. It's the first 16 weeks. I was on fire. Holidays ruin it. But join down below. $5 to join. It's a pretty good deal. It does support the channel as well. So please do that. But in particular, just you want to be in part of the live chat, $5 to join. Do that. No Thursday. I think everything is Saturday and the Sunday. So there we go. All right. Your top lineup right now. According to ETR data, is a Rams 5-1, so you're naturally getting onslaught bills favoring the Rams. We got Puka Nacua, Bijan Robinson, Matthew Stafford, Colby Parkinson, Davis Allen, Kanata Mumfield. So we are getting Puka up top, 3 pass catchers with Stafford, and then the Bijan bring back. But my theory of them cramming in Puka, Bijan, and Stafford, that is true for our ETR cash game build here. Overall, across all 25, which again has no variance on top, no boosts or anything. It's just the pure projection thing. That's what we're trying to see is just the projection math. What drives people the most to play players, where projections are going to push them. And you're going to see where they're going to push them. 100% Puka Nacua, only 92% Bijan. Then Kanata Mumfield makes 88% of these top 25 lineups. That's a lot of Mumfield. He is a chalky play. Stafford and 80% of them, Parkinson and 76. So Rams heavy stuff for sure. Nothing to note in the player stacks. Stack construction, though, these are all 4-2 Rams or 5-1 Rams. So right away, if you play 3-3 even keeled build here on ETR's data, you're going to be unique from what the field's going to get naturally because they're getting natural onslaughts at a really high rate, 72% Rams onslaughts, and then 4-2s and 28%. So that means that all the top 25 optimals have at least 4 Rams. So one rule of thumb you can make right away would be play at least 3 Rams in my lineup. Or, max 3 rather, would be the way to do that. At least 3 Falcons in my lineup. And that's one way to make yourself more unique. If you were to play a 5-1 Falcons onslaught, you'll be completely away from where the chalk is. And look, I agree that, wanting the Rams to kick ass here, like that's what I would say how these teams have played all year. The 7.5 point total favoring the Rams on the road. Like that's what that all says as well. But for showdown slates, Ricky D, I think, had a viral Twitter thread over the week talking about how he hates gambling now and whatever. But he was a really great DFS player. And one thing that stood out when I had my most contrarian period, which was actually working really well in showdowns, I just couldn't sustain the losses when it doesn't go well. But I had won 25K during the stretch, and I saw I was playing lineups where Ricky D was playing the same ones. It was 5-1 builds where, like, on the slates that we were playing, it was favoring one team, and Ricky D on a lot of these slates, he'd be playing the exact opposite, where it's 5-1's favoring the other team. If you capture that outcome where the team that's expected to lose or just doesn't come out as well projection-wise, if they win outright or their players make a lineup more, you're away from so much of the field. There's a lot more volatility in that, though, because you're not playing into what, the markets are saying, what the entire field is playing. But when it hits, like, you are so much more alone in the spots. So if you get on like a, Falcons 5-1 today, and it happens to go that way, you're going to be competing against 5 people as opposed to 5,000 with that same kind of lineup. That's the way to think about it, even though, again, it's like expensive to play that way and a little bit less fun because you just have to constantly be thinking like, oh, what do I think? Okay, what I think is wrong. Like, it's a little bit tough to do psychologically, at least for me. But it is one of the things that works. All right, let's see what we got here. So we imported our settings, right? That took. Okay. Let's put variants on. ETR does have sims ready, so we'll build 250 lineups here. We'll have them compete against ETR's contest sims that they build out. Of course, Solver linked down below as well. Check them out. You don't get any money off. They don't really do those deals, unfortunately, but it is still a good tool if you want to play an optimizer plus sim with ETR data's baked in. ETR's data, rather, baked in. Check it out. Link down below. Or use the promo code SPLASH over there. Same as Stochastic. Promo code SPLASH anywhere will usually be my way to integrate you into what these companies are doing. We'll build these out. It's really, you're seeing up top, again, a lot of Rams heavy stuff. The second one, though, or at least if you're building Rams heavy, you play Bijan at captain. It's probably a little bit more unique. People don't like to play, and really, it doesn't have as high of a historical win rates. That's part of the reason why. But people don't like to play the 5-1 builds with the one from the opposing team being captain. In this game, it does matter. It does seem a little more viable, I think, than usual. Shout out Braden here. Thanks for showing up, giving your thought process. Like last week, I started strong and Sunday crushed me. You need a big night from Stafford and Puka. Yeah, I get it. That's the nature of the beast here. And again, a lot of the thing, both, for me as a content creator and also I think the same thing as a gambler is like, number one, being smart about your bankroll on the gambling side. So like you don't drain yourself completely dry when you do have those bad runs. But number two, it's just keep getting up, keep doing the work over and over again. The more slates you play, the better shot you have. And, some of the, most prolific DFS players out there / gamblers will be doing afternoon slates, turbo slates, because that gives you a better shot to maximize your edge. I don't have that stamina. Like I just play what I enjoy. And I think for a lot of you guys out there, keep that in mind. Playing what you enjoy is also one way to keep yourself viable at doing this longer. Your top ROI lineup, this is a fun one. Top ROI lineup according to the ETR data here, and it's saying exactly what I just said, but in a much more visually stimulating way. So this lineup loses so many. So this loses 15% of the time, finishes like dead last amidst every lineup. However, when it wins, it will win you a lot of money here. It's only finishing top 1%, about 2.8% of the time. That said, it is a Cousins captain with Kyron as a bringback, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, Tyler Algier. So we're fading Bijan to get unique. We are also going with that 5-1 Falcons onslaught to get even more unique. And we're playing something that can theoretically hit and get leverage on both those parts, along with no Puka as well. So like even more unique for that. So an incredibly unique lineup, but you are fading so much projection. But when it hits, it wins all the money. And that is what Showdown is. It's so hard to explain that, but like it's good that we talked about it and then you see the exact visual representation of what that means. Your number 2 ROI lineup here, according to ETR data: Puka Nacua, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Kanata Mumfield, Xavier Smith, Matthew Stafford. So we are fading some of the Falcons pass game. I guess all the Falcons pass game, really, besides whatever chunks that Bijan and Algier take away. We are playing Puka. We are fading the tight ends here, just playing secondary receivers. Yeah, I think it's another way to get unique while still playing guys that are going to have, meaningful roles in the offenses. Number 3. So this one wins a lot, but it is still a 3-3 build. Drake London, captain, yes. Puka Nacua, yes. Mevis, yes. Colby Parkinson, sure. Tyler Algier, Faden Bijan with Kirk Cousins as well. So theoretically, if Drake London hits the ceiling, this lineup is saying, and also Algier does enough to make a lineup, where the lineup is saying that Bijan does not do enough to make a winning lineup that fits logically. And again, a 3-3 build might be all you need to get unique. Number 4, a Parkinson captain, but another 3-3 build. Parkinson, Puka, Bijan, Mooney, Tyler Algier, and Stafford. So we got our stack partners here. Puka Nacua still makes a lineup with the high projection. Bijan still makes a lineup with the high projection. Stafford still makes a lineup with the high projection. But we're adding Algier on to get more unique, and Mooney over Drake London, who nobody will want to play for sure with Drake London back in. And your number 5 ROI lineup is Matthew Stafford at captain. Algier here, fading Bijan, fading London, fading Cousins as well. Puka Nacua, Colby Parkinson, Davis Allen, Kyron Williams. So Stafford captain hitting. And a much better win rate than that first one. That first one, though, to me, this is like showdown in like a nutshell, where it's just like, cool, we have like nothing good happening most of the time. Occasionally something good happens, and a lot of the time we're just getting our ass kicked. But that the more you play like that, if you can absorb it, I think the better off you'll be in showdowns. Your highest ROI players, Tyler Algier, only getting played in the flex, but he has a 209% ROI and 19% exposure. So again, he does, when he hits, he's either cutting the ownership product to Bijan or giving direct leverage against Bijan. That's why the logic would be for him making these lineups. Number 2 would be Kyron, 150% ROI and 29% exposure. Not a lot of that is at captain, only 1% there. But again, another guy that will be lesser owned, but have similar upside to your most of your highest projected players on the slate. Kyle Pitts, 146% ROI at 16% exposure. So he didn't come up as much here, but hitting in the flex a good amount, barely hitting at captain. Rams D, 144% ROI and only 3% exposure, so barely getting played. When they hit, it is a very particular game script. The field's not going to play very much. And I would say as well, it is absolutely a shootout kind of game script here. I would think that defenses don't get played. Yesterday, I think for that game as well, I would have said the same thing. And the Bears defense got the touchdown early. Still, I believe, didn't make the winning lineup. That's what happens sometimes as well, where the shootout part of it dampens any defense success. But if the game shoots out a little bit less and the defense does get a touchdown or a bunch of sacks here, a team like the Rams defense, they can make it and pay off meaningfully, even if you only play them at the flex. Darnell Mooney, 130% ROI. That's 20% exposure overall for him. And Drake London, not too far behind with 122% ROI on his 31% exposure. Let's go to Stochastic next. Let's see if they've updated anything. Probably not. Same stuff from this morning, so let's rerun it. So ETR, we saw our 250 lineups competing against a field of a however many. I mean, they make it to match the actual tournament field. On Stochastic, what they have is 50,000 lineups that compete 10,000 times. So different process here. Both tools definitely can be worth your while. Check them both out down below. Of course, link in the description. Or use the promo code SPLASH for the solver and Stochastic, which you get 15% off with the promo code SPLASH over there. And again, if you want to get NBA, you'd also save 15% off the same promo code, weekly, monthly. If you want to get the all access stuff, that's also 15% off the promo code SPLASH. So check it out. It does support the show, and half the money you pay to Stochastic comes back here. So big way of being able to do what I do, and we'll see how we do with all of their stuff changing over next month, because that's going to be a harrowing. It's going to be a harrowing post New Year's for old Spags. All right. One more clicky here. We still got a single lineup sim coming up that I'll do a hand build on, and our 3 ways to get unique, though. One of them should be pretty obvious. If you're doing your homework at home for treating this like a class, I think we saw pretty clearly spelled out one way to get unique. We even saw a visual representation. All right, your top 150 lineups here. Let's favorite them. But number 1 ROI, according to Stochastic, Puka Nacua captain. So they are leaning in here. Rams 5-1. Puka captain, Blake Corum makes it. Harrison Mevis makes it. Matthew Stafford makes it. Terrence Ferguson, Tyler Algier. So Algier, our 1 Falcon. Is that not the same thing? No, it was a little bit different on ETR. We had 1-5-1 here, though. This is the one I was thinking of. Stafford, Algier, Puka, Parkinson, Davis Allen, Kyron. Here you're getting Puka, Corum, Mevis, Stafford, Ferguson, Algier. But you are getting on both sites 5-1 Rams builds where the 1 Falcon is Algier. It's interesting. I don't know that it matters that much, but it's interesting. Number 2, you have a Rams 4-2. Parkinson and captain, Drake London, Kirk Cousins, so we're fading Bijan here. Kyron Williams, Matthew Stafford, Terrence Ferguson. This one only leaves 800 on the table. That first one left 4,100 on the table, so definitely a big salary gap there to play that 5-1. Number 3, you have Drake London, captain, Bijan Robinson, Colby Parkinson, David Sills, whose workload was down pretty substantially, only played 30 snaps last week with London back in, but yeah, 30 snaps is enough to theoretically spike an upside. Falcons D, Puka Nacua here. So in Atlanta 4-2, defense makes it. Definitely two ways that we're used to seeing as ways to get unique on a showdown. Number 4, Bijan Robinson, captain, Drake London, Falcons D. Kirk Cousins, Terrence Ferguson, and Zane Gonzalez makes it. Not a lot of kickers showing so far, but we're getting a little bit of Mevis, a little bit of Zane Gonzalez. And number 5, Matthew Stafford, captain, so another Rams 5-1. Bijan is our 1 Falcon. Then we have Corum, Mumfield, Puka, and Xavier Smith. So fading all the tight ends, fading Kyron for Corum. Still playing Puka, but playing Mumfield and Smith. Smith's role, again, around 20 snaps, so not the greatest role in the world, but it is a role. Highest ROI players. Nick Vannett at captain. I hate when we see these because, like, it just means that, like, oh, there are some lineups where all the studs hit, and you need to do those lineups too. But Nick Vannett, probably not going to play enough to matter as your 4th tight end in a team that's already playing 3 tight ends, 60-plus snaps. Did Vannett even play last week? Vannett didn't even play last week. So really, again, what it mostly means is that $200 salary guy, that if he does anything at all and the studs all go nuts around him, you maybe hit, but you're probably not playing Nick Vannett for real tonight. Blake Corum at captain, 10% ROI at 6,900. To me, it feels like you need Kyron to get hurt or to really be meaningfully fucking up to get Corum out there. If he's going to get, 2 extra snaps last week, but it can happen. So Corum here at captain, number 2. Falcons D at captain, number 3, a 7% ROI. Rams D, number 4, a 0.4% ROI. Defense captain is not going to get played enough in the slate, so when it does hit, it probably wins a lot of money, would be what I would read into from the sim. Then Jordan Whittington at number 5 does a negative 3% ROI, but still your 5th highest ROI overall, which is what we're looking at. Captain, he probably does not hit very often, played less than 20 snaps last week. But if he does pay off at captain, you could cram in all the good guys with it, and that's how that goes. Highest exposure in the flex. We got Bijan, 51% exposure, Fields at 45. So slightly positive leverage on Bijan Robinson, despite him getting faded in some of those top lineups. Puka Nacua dead even with the field, 41.3% exposure, Fields at 41.5. So we'll see what we get at captain with Puka Nacua. Right now, flat with the field in the flex. Blake Corum, 36% exposure, Fields at 25. Corum at a higher ROI at captain, and the flex as well. It does seem like they don't think you should be forgetting about him on the slate. And for what it's worth, too, anybody who looks at the snap counts on Fantasy Pros could see the exact same thing and go, oh, yeah, Blake Corum's role is going away. So sometimes you can lean into that, especially at a showdown. The field will know similar things to what you know. And, Corum, I guess, a little bit underowned. Kirk Cousins, 35% exposure, Fields at 25. We'll be getting so much of the Rams pass game, so many more Rams. It does make sense to look at the Falcons a little bit more. The sim is giving you more Cousins. And then Matthew Stafford, pretty big fade on him in the flex. Only 34% exposure, and the Fields at 47. So a little fade on London as well. 26% exposure, and the Fields at 30. Definitely consolidated stuff for Bijan and Puka. A captain. Our highest exposed captain is Bijan. Oh, okay. We're really flipping stuff here. Bijan, 27% exposure at captain, Fields at 16. That's a pretty big stand there. Puka Nacua, 18% exposure at captain, Fields at 31. So they're low on Puka overall. Playing him 41%, so dead with the field in the flex, and then shaving off 12% or so at captain. That's a pretty big stand. Drake London, 11% exposure at captain, Fields at 9. So they did fade him a little bit in the flex, gave you a little bit more at captain. Kyle Pitts, 7% exposure at captain, Fields at 4. Pitts, did they fade him in the flex as well? Now, Pitts are getting more of in the flex and at captain. And then Rams D, 6% at captain compared to the Fields, 1%. Really big stand on Rams D here. Falcons D, you're getting a 2%. The Fields at 0.4. So you're basically 5Xing both defenses at captain with them being underowned. It doesn't mean it hits, but it does mean that people just aren't going to play defense enough on the slate. Highest leverage plays across flex and captain. We got Falcons D, 15% leverage at the flex. Bijan Robinson, 11% leverage in the flex. Or actually, no, captain, excuse me. Not a surprise with what we just saw. Blake Corum, 11% leverage in the flex. Kirk Cousins, 10% leverage in the flex. So you're getting 10% more in the field on Kirk Cousins. And then Rams D, 8% leverage in the flex as well. 20% exposure, Fields at 12. David Sills not that far behind for what it's worth. Puka Nacua, your biggest faded captain, negative 13% leverage. It was a big number we saw already. That is your highest number of fade here on the slate. Matthew Stafford, negative 13% leverage in the flex. Where did he land at captain? Wow, big fade in him at captain too. Only 4% exposure, Fields at 12. Stochastic data hating Stafford right now. Parkinson, 24% exposure, Fields at 36. Mevis, 21% exposure in the flex, Fields at 29. It's negative 9% leverage. And Stafford at captain. Stafford, two of your biggest fades here at flex and captain. That is surprising for me to see, given that he's so highly projected. Just built a single entry based on what I need to win the tournament. Algier captain, then double D's, Parkinson, Cousins, and Bijan. Yeah, it's a narrow outcome, but it still looks like a lineup, so that's good. Let's go to the hand build here. We know that Stochastic is not going to enjoy getting Stafford in. I mean, I don't know if it's like as much of an indoctrination of Stafford as it is saying like play more of the Drake London, Kyron tier of guys, and also that the value is not good enough to get there. That'd be my guess, but let's go Puka flex. I think let's go Bijan captain. If I go Stafford flex too, I feel like now we're just in a chalk thing that the sim is not going to like. I am going to go London captain. And I guess that would naturally lend itself to fading Stafford because we really have a hard time affording him now. Cousins would make sense with London captain, but Cousins might not make it. Let's go Kyron. That leaves us 850 for 2 spots. That's not going to work. This is brutal. Algier, Bijan, and London making it seems implausible. I mean, let's go. We're fading Stafford. Let's go Falcons D here. Falcons D does blitz a lot. Stafford's getting sacked at a pretty high rate for a guy with a bad back. 8% sack rate is a high number. For comparison, Kirk Cousins at 3.5, so he's getting the ball out. And Stafford's at 7.5%. I'm rounding up, but just to be totally accurate to the decimal here, as we always try to be. 4K left for these last 2 spots. I feel like a kicker. Let's put Mevis in because we're saying Stafford's getting sacked. I try to play this angle sometimes at showdowns, and it always feels like it comes close to working and never actually works. But like theoretically, the defense and opposing kicker should correlate because if you're getting sacks, a lot of times it's going to be on that 3rd down situation where you knock the guy, out of field or out of, go for it on 4th down range, or just make it an obvious field goal situation. And I try to play it sometimes and it doesn't work, but today I feel like it makes sense again. Now we got 3,100 left. Ugh. I feel like Mumfield would be my guy, but he's going to be owned out the wazoo. We got Tutu, Sills, Davis Allen. And if Davis Allen catches a TD, though Ferguson can't afford Ferguson. No, I can't afford Ferguson. So Davis Allen, I think, is the choice. So we're going to say our touchdowns are, we're getting a Davis Allen touchdown, maybe a Puka touchdown, maybe not. A lot of field goals from Mevis. The team here, Captain Drake London, Puka Nacua, Bijan, Falcons D, Harrison Mevis, Davis Allen, negative 14% ROI. All right, let's see. What would you complete the lineup with, Sim? They'd put in Kanata Mumfield instead. I like Mumfield more, but I think that's going to be chalkier. Negative 19. You made my ROI worse. Come on, Sim. Let's take Mumfield out and crank it to 30. Still plays Mumfield. All right. I feel like playing Falcons D and Mevis is sort of the whole point of the thing here. Let's take out Falcons D. Maybe the defense still doesn't make it, because that is a thing that I've fucked up sometimes on slates where you play the defense and the kicker, and the defense can't accomplish something, get sacks, make the kicker viable, but it does mean the defense will actually make a winning lineup. So it's giving me Charlie Werner instead and Colby Parkinson with London captain, Bijan, Puka, and Harrison Mevis. It got worse. All right. Here, let's just... What do you want, Sim? I'll put Puka in. All right, so we're just going to keep the top 3. London captain with Bijan and Puka. 20% randomness. It completes the lineup with Corum, Parkinson, and Kanata Mumfield. If this is -2, I give up. Fuck off. I like, all right, okay, one more try. Mumfield out, Parkinson out, Corum out. Still keeping the same core here of London captain, Bijan and Puka. Like, I feel like what the sim is saying is like, let's go 30% randomness. I feel like it's saying that you can't have this core, and that doesn't seem logical to me. But it put in Davis Allen, Tyler Algier, and it's still -9. Got to put Mevis in as well. So you just can't put Drake London captain and play Bijan and Puka. I don't buy it. But that's what we learned here today. It's a rare day. I feel like I always get at least one green one here to my sheer force of will, and then using the complete lineup. And it's not happening today, guys. But I am going to give you guys 3 ways to get unique. I'm in a moment here. Before I do that, one last run through plugs. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It goes a long way for me here. I am just one guy showing you my gambling as best I can. And, I'm also a human being here showing up, being as much of that as I can as well, doing these shows every day. But of course, the work continues on throughout the NFL playoffs. No matter how burnt out I get, I still keep going through. And that's what we say. That's what good health and mental health and process is. But I appreciate you guys being here. And of course, it is the end of the year, so please show some love. Hit that like button, subscribe. And shout out to the very kind super chats and chats earlier today. I appreciate it a bunch from you guys. Join down below, of course, Stochastic, 15% off that promo code SPLASH. A big way that I support this show and what I'm able to do here across the NFL, across the NBA. And I think for those of you guys that have been looking for it, I think this year across the MLB, only way I can do that is with you guys signing up for Stochastic. So please do that. Use the promo code SPLASH over there and get 15% off for yourself, along with supporting the show here in a meaningful way. All the cheap stuff, all the expensive stuff. It's all 15% off over there with the promo code SPLASH. And last but not least, support the show here by joining down below if you want to be part of the live chats. Of course, after the show, any comments you leave, I will reply to you too, so keep that in mind. Always make sure to reply to every comment, but hit the like button and join the channel. 2 big things you can do on here to support the show and be more involved in the community. So please do that. $5 to join. You also get a data sheet every week and usually a premium video, which will probably be back for the playoffs, if not week 18. All right, 3 ways to get unique here. Play more Falcons dominant stuff. The fact you're getting all 4-2 Rams, 5-1 Rams in just the projections. Fact Stochastic too is pushing that towards you a little bit more up top. Makes me think that, right away, if you could stomach it, if you could play Falcons here, if you hit that outcome where they do pay off, you're going to have more lineups hitting where Falcons getting 3-3 even, let alone a 4-2 Falcons, a 5-1 Falcons. If that hits somehow, you're just going to be on an island. So those are good things sometimes in a showdown. It means, unfortunately, that you will get sometimes that chart where it's like, oh, it wins this much and it loses this much. But like, that's what showdown play is. Again, if you could stomach it across even a 20 max, just doing a few of those lineups sometimes can go a long way. Besides that, second way to get unique on the slate, this is going to be an obvious one. Fading Puka Nacua, fading Bijan Robinson. Even though those guys didn't both come up in all the optimal lineups, I think they're still going to get played one or the other in every lineup here. And a lot of people are going to try to play both. So if you have an outcome where max one of them hits, I think that's going to be a way to carve your way up top. And that's another thing that's worked out previously really well for me in showdowns. For you guys, generally a good rule of thumb to keep in mind when you see that high ownership, whether you're watching these videos or not, in a showdown slate where 2 guys are going to be owned pretty much uniformly in every lineup. Max 1 rule, and you'll get unique right away. Last way to get unique here, I think it's more defense, more kicker. Mevis seems like he's going to be decently owned, so kicker might be a stretch, but I still think playing defense on a slate where defense is coming up is always going to be a good move to try a little bit. Again, same thing. It is going to likely not be super plus EV generally, but you see Stochastic giving you more at captain, giving you more in the flex. That's what it means. Like, defense is not comfortable here, but one of them can hit. And on this slate, like, if 2 hit, I think that's going to be really unique. I would say it's a better likelihood of the Falcons defense getting there against Stafford because of the sacks, but certainly Kirk Cousins could turn it over as well. So just being mindful of defense, not totally ruling it out, even though the total is so high. I think a very important thing to keep in mind on showdown slates. But that's it for today, guys. Make sure to gamble responsibly, even though it is, of course, always money time here on this channel. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod, whether it is on Twitter or on YouTube. I'll be back not on Thursday of this week because we have no game coming up there. Back on Friday for the main slate. So tune in for that one then. We also next week, I believe, will be starting the rookie previews. It's either going to be next week or the week after, but I think I'm going to try to start doing it next week. So that'll be going into the NFL data stuff using Sports Info Solutions, making my rookie takes for the year. It's not a very fun process on stream, to be honest, because I look through an Excel and come up with my takes off of it, but we'll try to make it as fun as possible here. A really key part of how I prepare for the NFL season is that. So why I didn't get a Jarquez Hunter this year was that process. So please join me for that coming up soon too here on this channel. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. Again, I'll be on Stochastic live before lock today, 7:15 Eastern. So tune in there. Of course, we'll have more nuance, and I always have a good time with Laffy on these Monday night streams. So check that out later, and I'll see you guys at 2 p.m. for NBA. Thanks to all the guys again for the kind super chats. Really do appreciate it a bunch, as well as all of you guys who remember supporting the show. And even if you guys are not, if you're watching this video, I do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Happy New Year, and good luck, guys. Bye-bye.